Some stories begin with a gentle sunrise, others with a storm. This one began with a cry, a sound so raw and desperate that it pierced the early morning silence and changed the lives of everyone who heard it. It was just after dawn on a chilly spring morning. The world was still wrapped in a soft gray mist, dew clinging to the grass, and the sleepy town of Willow Creek was just beginning to stir. Most people were still in bed, but for Sarah and her teenage son, Ethan, the day had started early. They were on their way to the animal shelter where Sarah volunteered. Driving down the winding country road that cut through the woods on the edge of town, Sarah was telling Ethan about the new litter of kittens at the shelter when she suddenly slowed the car. There, by the side of the road, was a small, trembling shape. At first, it looked like a bundle of rags, but as they drew closer, they saw it was a Pupia German Shepherd, no more than a few months old, his fur matted and dirty, his eyes wide with fear. But it wasn't just the puppy that caught their attention. Clutched tightly in his jaws was a battered, mud-stained duffel bag. The puppy was crying high, keening whimpers that spoke of hunger, cold, and something deeper, heartbreak. Sarah pulled over, her heart pounding. "Ethan, stay in the car," she said. But Ethan was already unbuckling his seatbelt, his eyes full of concern. They approached slowly, not wanting to frighten the puppy. But as they drew near, the little dog backed away, dragging the bag with him. He growled a tiny, desperate sound, refusing to let go of his prize. Sarah knelt down, her voice soft and soothing. "It's okay, sweetheart. We're not going to hurt you." The puppy's eyes darted between Sarah and Ethan, his body trembling. He whimpered again, pressing himself against the bag as if it were the only thing in the world he had left. Ethan's heart ached at the sight. "Mom, he's so scared. Why won't he let go of that bag?" Sarah shook her head, her mind racing. She'd seen abandoned animals before, but never one so fiercely protective of something. What could possibly be inside that bag that mattered more to this puppy than food, warmth, or safety? Cars passait, some slowing to look, but no one stopped. The world seemed to hold its breath as Sarah and Ethan tried to coax the puppy closer. But he wouldn't budge. Every time they inched forward, he dragged the bag back, his cries growing louder, more frantic. Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out a granola bar, breaking off a piece and tossing it gently toward the puppy. A sniffed, hunger warring with fear, but a Woolden tea. Let go of the bag. Not for a second. Ethan tried a different approach, sitting cross-legged on the grass and speaking softly. "Hey, buddy. It's okay. We just want to help." The puppy's ears flicked, his eyes never leaving them. He whimpered again, a sound so full of longing that it brought tears to Sarah's eyes. Minutes passed, the sun climbing higher, the world waking up around them. But in that small patch of roadside grass, time seemed to stand still. Finally, Sarah made a decision. "We can't leave him here. Whatever's in that bag, it's important to him. We have to help." Ethan nodded, determination in his eyes. "Let's do it, Mom." They moved slowly, inching closer, speaking in gentle tones. The puppy watched them, his body tense, his grip on the bag unbreakable. And then, just as Sarah reached out her hand, the puppy let out a cry so piercing, so full of pain and fear, that it stopped her in her tracks. What could possibly be inside that bag? Why was this tiny, broken puppy willing to risk everything to protect it? Sarah and Ethan exchanged a glance, their hearts pounding with dread and curiosity. They had no idea that what they were about to discover would change not only the puppy's life, but their Onand would send shockwaves through the entire town. The puppy's cries echoed in Sarah's ears as she and Ethan sat on the damp grass, trying to figure out what to do next. The little German Shepherd was shaking so hard his teeth chattered, but he never loosened his grip on the battered duffel bag. Every time Sarah or Ethan moved closer, he dragged the bag a few inches away, his eyes wild with fear and desperation. Sarah's mind raced. She'd seen abandoned animals before, but never one so fiercely protective of something. She wondered what horrors this puppy had already endured in his short life. Had he been dumped here by someone he trusted? Had he watched his family drive away, leaving him with nothing but this mysterious bag? Ethan, always the more patient of the two, tried a different approach. He sat a few feet away, speaking softly, telling the puppy about his own dog at home. about the warm bed and full food bowl waiting for him. He tossed another piece of granola bar, this time a little closer. The puppy sniffed the air, hunger warring with fear. But still, he wouldn't let go of the bag. Sarah glanced at the road. Cars continued to pass, some slowing to look, but no one stopped. She felt a surge of frustration. How many people had driven by, seeing only a stray, not realizing the depth of the puppy's pain? She thought about her own life, the struggles she'd faced as a single mother, the nights she'd lain awake worrying about bills, about Ethan's future. She knew what it was like to feel alone, to cling to the one thing that gave you hope. Minutes ticked by. The sun rose higher, burning off the morning mist. The puppy's cries grew softer, more exhausted than afraid. He was losing strength, but still he refused to let go. Sarah made a decision. She pulled out her phone and called the animal shelter. "It's Sarah. I need help. There's a puppy on the side of the road. He's terrified, and he won't let go of a bag. Can you send someone?" The shelter director, Mrs. Ramirez, promised to send a team right away. "Stay with him, Sarah. Don't let him out of your sight." Sarah hung up, relief and anxiety warring in her chest. She turned to Ethan. "Help is on the way. We just have to keep him calm until they get here." Ethan nodded his eyes, never leaving the puppy. "He looks so sad, Mom. Like he's lost everything." Sarah's heart ached. "Maybe he has." They waited, speaking softly, trying to project calm and safety. The puppy's eyes flicked between them, his body tense, but he seemed to sense their good intentions. He stopped growling, though he still whimpered, his paws wrapped tightly around the bag. As they waited, Sarah's mind wandered. She remembered the day she'd found Ethan crying in his room after their dog, Max, had died. She'd held him as he sobbed, promising that things would get better, that love could heal even the deepest wounds. She wondered if the same was true for this little puppy. After what felt like an eternity, a white van pulled up. Mrs. Ramirez and 2 shelter volunteers stepped out, carrying blankets and treats. They approached slowly, speaking in gentle tones. The puppy tensed, his eyes wide with terror. He tried to drag the bag away, but he was too weak. He collapsed on the grass, still clinging to his prize. Mrs. Ramirez knelt beside him, her voice soft and soothing. "It's okay, sweet. We're here to help." She offered him a piece of chicken, the smell irresistible. The puppy hesitated, then snatched it up, chewing hungrily but still. He never let go of the bag. The volunteers spread a blanket on the grass, trying to coax the puppy onto it. He resisted, whining, his body trembling with exhaustion. Sarah's heart broke at the sight. She reached out, her hand trembling. "It's okay, baby. You're safe now." For a moment the puppy looked at her, his eyes full of longing and fear. Then, slowly, he inched closer, dragging the bag with him. Mrs. Ramirez nodded to the volunteers. "Let's get him to the van. We'll take the bag, too." Very gently, they lifted the puppy and the bag onto the blanket, wrapping him up to keep him warm. The puppy whimpered, but he didn't fight. He seemed to sense that his ordeal was finally over. As they carried him to the van, Sarah and Ethan followed, their hearts pounding with relief and curiosity. "What do you think is in the bag?" Ethan whispered. Sarah shook her head. "I don't know, but whatever it is, it's important to him." Mrs. Ramirez placed the puppy and the bag in a crate, securing them for the ride to the shelter. "We'll find out soon enough." As the van pulled away, Sarah and Ethan climbed into their car, their minds racing with questions. What could possibly be inside that bag? Why had the puppy risked everything to protect it? They had no idea that the answer would haunt them for days to come and that the truth would be more shocking than anything they could have imagined. The drive to the shelter was tense and silent. The puppy, now wrapped in a soft blanket, lay curled in the crate, his nose pressed firmly against the battered duffel bag. Every so often, he whimpered, a sound so mournful it made Sarah's heart ache. Ethan sat in the back seat, his eyes glued to the crate, whispering words of comfort. At the shelter, Mrs. Ramirez and her team moved quickly. They carried the puppy inside, setting the crate in a quiet room away from the other animals. The puppy's eyes darted around, wide with fear. but he never let go of the bag. Sarah and Ethan followed, their curiosity and concern growing with every step. Mrs. Ramirez knelt beside the crate, speaking softly. "We need to see what's in the bag, sweetheart. We promise we won't take it away from you." The puppy whimpered, his body tense. He looked at Sarah, then at Izan, as if searching for reassurance. Sarah knelt beside him, her voice gentle. "It's okay, baby. We're here. We just want to help." Slowly, carefully, Mrs. Ramirez reached for the bag. The puppy growled, a low, desperate sound. But Sarah stroked his head, whispering soothing words. "It's okay. You're safe." After a long moment, the puppy loosened his grip, just enough for Mrs. Ramirez to slide the bag out from under his paws. The puppy whimpered, watching anxiously as she unzipped it. The room fell silent as Mrs. Ramirez opened the bag. Inside, she found a small, tattered blanket, stained and threadbare. Wrapped in the blanket was a tiny, shivering kitten, more than a few weeks old, its eyes barely open. Sarah gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Ethan let out a cry of shock. "There's a kitten in there," the puppy whimpered, crawling toward the bag, his eyes pleading. He licked the kitten's face, nudging it gently with his nose. Mrs. Ramirez's eyes filled with tears. He was protecting her. All this time he was trying to keep her safe. The kitten mewed weakly, its tiny body trembling. The puppy curled around her, his body a shield against the world. Sarah's heart broke at the sight. She knelt beside the puppy, tears streaming down her face. "You're such a good boy. You saved her." Ethan reached out, stroking the puppy's head. He wouldn't let anyone near her. He must have thought we were going to hurt her. Mrs. Ramirez nodded, her voice choked with emotion. "He's just a baby himself, but he risked everything to protect her." The volunteers moved quickly, wrapping the kitten in a warm towel and checking her for injuries. She was cold and hungry, but otherwise unharmed. The puppy watched anxiously as they cared for the kitten, his eyes never leaving her. When they tried to separate them, he whimpered, pawing at the crate until they relented and let him stay close. Sarah and Ethan sat with the puppy, offering him food and water. He ate hungrily, but only after the kitten had been fed. As the hours passed, the story spread through the shelter. Staff and volunteers stopped by to see the brave puppy in his tiny charge. Some brought treats, others simply sat and watched, their hearts full of awe and admiration. Mrs. Ramirez called the local vet, who arrived within the hour. She examined both animals, pronouncing the kitten weak but stable, and the puppy malnourished, but otherwise healthy. "They're lucky you found them when you did," the vet said, her voice gentle. "Another day out there, and they might not have made it." Sarah nodded, her eyes shining with tears. "He saved her life. He wouldn't let go, no matter what." Ethan smiled, his heart full. "He's a hero." But as the initial shock faded, new questions arose. Where had the puppy and kitten come from? How had they ended up alone on the side of the road? And who had left them there, with nothing but each other and a battered old bag? Mrs. Ramirez promised to investigate, but for now, the focus was on helping the two survivors heal. As night fell, Sarah and Ethan prepared to leave. The puppy whimpered, watching them go, but Sarah knelt beside him, her voice soft. "We'll be back tomorrow, sweetheart. Promise." Ethan waved, his eyes lingering on the puppy and kitten curled together in the crate. As they drove home, Sarah's mind raced with questions. She knew the story was far from over. The puppy and kitten had survived against all odds, but their journey was just beginning. And as she looked at Ethan, she realized that their own lives had been changed forever by a single, desperate cry on a misty morning. The next morning, Sarah and Ethan were at the shelter as soon as the doors opened. They found the puppy and kitten curled together in their crate, the puppy's head resting protectively over the tiny feline. The sight drew a crowd of volunteers and visitors, all eager to see the unlikely pair who had survived so much together. Mrs. Ramirez greeted Sarah and Ethan with a tired smile. They had a good night. The kitten's eating, and the puppy hasn't left her side once. We've never seen anything like it. Ethan knelt by the crate, whispering softly to the puppy, "You're a real hero. You know that." The puppy wagged his tail, his eyes brightening at the familiar voice. The shelter's vet, Dr. Kim, arrived to check on the pair. She examined the kitten, who was still weak but improving, and then turned her attention to the puppy. He's young, but he's been through a lot. He's got some bruises and is underweight, but he's strong. His loyalty probably saved them both. Sarah watched as the puppy licked the kitten's face, his eyes full of love and worry. He must have thought he was all she had in the world, she murmured. As the day went on, the story of the puppy and kitten spread beyond the shelter. Mrs. Ramirez posted a photo on the shelter's social media page, and within hours, the post had gone viral. People from all over the town, and soon from across the country, were moved by the tale of the brave German Shepherd puppy who refused to let go of the bag that held his tiny friend. Donations poured in for the shelter. Offers to adopt the pair came from as far away as California and New York. News crews arrived, eager to share the story of hope and resilience. But even as the world celebrated their survival, the mystery of their past lingered. Mrs. Ramirez and her team worked tirelessly to piece together the clues. They checked the bag for any identification, but found nothing. They canvassed the area where the animals were found, asking neighbors and searching for security cameras. One afternoon, a breakthrough came. A local farmer remembered seeing an old pickup truck parked near the woods a few days before the puppy and kitten were found. He described a man in a faded jacket who seemed to be looking for something in the grass. The farmer hadn't thought much of it at the time, but now the memory sent a chill down his spine. Mrs. Ramirez reported the tip to the authorities, who began searching for the truck. Meanwhile, the shelter staff focused on helping the puppy and kitten heal. They named the puppy Hero and the kitten Hope, names that seemed to fit their story perfectly. Sarah and Ethan visited every day, bringing treats and toys. They watched as Hero grew stronger, his confidence returning with each passing hour. Hope, too, began to thrive, her tiny body filling out, her eyes growing brighter. But Hero never let Hope out of his sight. Whenever someone tried to separate them, he whimpered and pawed at the crate until she was returned to his side. The shelter staff marveled at the bond between the two. It's like he's her big brother, one volunteer said. He'd do anything to protect her. As the days passed, the community rallied around Hero and Hope. Children sent drawings and letters, thanking the puppy for his bravery. Local businesses donated food and supplies. The mayor stopped by to meet the pair, declaring them honorary citizens of Willow Creek. But even as the world celebrated, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. She wondered about the man in the pickup truck, about the life Hero and Hope had left behind. She worried that someone might come looking for them, not to claim them, but to hide the truth of what had happened. One evening, as Sarah and Ethan prepared to leave the shelter, Mrs. Ramirez pulled them aside. The police found the truck, she said quietly. It was abandoned on the edge of town. Inside, they found more animal carriers, some with traces of fur and food. It looks like someone was dumping animals in the woods. Sarah's heart ached. How could anyone do that? Mrs. Ramirez shook her head. I don't know. But thanks to Hero, Opis would be, and now they have a chance at a real life. That night, Sarah lay awake, thinking about the puppy and kitten who had clung to each other in the darkness, refusing to give up. She thought about the power of love, about the way even the smallest creatures could inspire hope in the world. The next day, the shelter announced that Hero and Hope would be adopted together. The news brought tears to Sarah's eyes. She and Ethan had already filled out the paperwork, hoping to give the pair the home they deserved. When the call came, Sarah could hardly believe it. You've been approved, Mrs. Ramirez said, her voice full of joy. Hero and Hope are yours. Ethan whooped with excitement, hugging his mom. We're a family now, he whispered, as they prepared to bring Hero and Hope home. Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them together, a journey that began with a desperate cry on a misty morning and ended with a new beginning for them all. But even as they celebrated, Sarah knew that the story wasn't just about rescue. It was about the power of love, the strength of hope, and the courage to never let go even when the world seems dark and cold. The day Hero and Hope came home was one Sarah and Ethan would never forget. The sun was shining, the air was crisp, and the whole neighborhood seemed to buzz with excitement. As they pulled into the driveway, Hero sat tall in the back seat, his eyes bright and alert, while Hope peeked out from the folds of a soft blanket. her tiny nose twitching with curiosity. Ethan opened the door, and Hero leaped out, pausing only to make sure Hope was safe in Sarah's arms. The puppy sniffed the grass, wagged his tail, and then circled back to nuzzle the kitten, as if reassuring her that this new place was safe. Inside, Sarah had prepared a cozy bed for them in the living room, complete with soft blankets, toys, and a bowl of fresh water. Hero explored every corner, his nose working overtime, but he never strayed far from Hope. The kitten, still a little shy, curled up beside him, purring softly as he licked her ears. The first night in their new home was peaceful. Hero and Hope slept side by side, their bodies pressed close, as if drawing strength from each other. Sarah watched them, her heart full. She knew they had a long road ahead. Hero still flinched at sudden noises, and Hope was easily startled, but they were safe now, and they had each other. Word of their adoption spread quickly. Neighbors stopped by to meet the famous pair, bringing treats and toys. Children from the local school sent cards and drawings, some depicting Hero as a superhero, cape and all, with Hope perched on his back. The story of the puppy who refused to let go of a bag and the kitten he saved became a symbol of hope for the entire town. Sarah and Ethan settled into a new routine. Every morning, they took Hero and Hope for walks in the park, where the puppy strutted proudly, his head held high, while the kitten rode in a special sling on Sarah's chest. People stopped to ask about them, and Sarah never tired of telling their story. As the weeks passed, Hero and Hope blossomed. The puppy grew stronger, his coat glossy and his eyes bright. He learned to play fetch, to sit and stay, and even to walk on a leash without pulling. Hope, once so timid, became a bundle of energy, chasing after Hero's tail and pouncing on his ears. But their bond never faded. No matter where they went, Hero always kept an eye on Hope, and she always found her way back to his side. They were inseparable, two souls who had found each other in the darkest of times and refused to let go. Sarah often thought about the day they found Hero on the side of the road, clinging to that battered bag. She remembered the fear in his eyes, the desperation in his cries, and the way he had risked everything to protect the tiny life hidden inside. She knew that love like that was rare, a love that refused to give up, no matter the odds. The town of Willow Creek was changed, too. Inspired by Hero and Hope, more people began to volunteer at the shelter, to foster animals in need, and to look out for the vulnerable in their community. The local paper ran a follow-up story, celebrating the pair's new life and the outpouring of kindness they had inspired. One afternoon, as Sarah watched Ethan play with Hero and Hope in the backyard, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. She knew that their family was stronger for having opened their hearts to two lost souls. She knew that Hero and Hope had taught them all the true meaning of courage, loyalty, and love. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Sarah sat on the porch, Hope curled in her lap and Hero resting at her feet. She thought about the journey that had brought them together, the heartbreak, the fear, the moments of doubt, and she knew she wouldn't change a thing. She looked at Ethan, at Hero, at Hope, and smiled. "We're a family now," she whispered. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by love, she knew that anything was possible. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change a life forever. Sometimes the bravest heroes are the ones who refuse to let go even when the world tells them to give up, because love, in the end, is what saves us all.